Hi there, welcome back. Okay, another little tool test for you on a Sunday. Now, a few weeks ago I started doing these, and the first thing I did was these lock-on sockets, and I think you'll agree that when the time came they were undeniably successful. As long as you use the correct size or a size smaller if necessary, they will always get hold of something that's rung off. And following that, I did the one on the Gator Socket, this little bulky thing. That again was a great success, no problems at all. And in both of those videos, loads and loads of you mentioned, what about trying it, Del, with the pinny sticky pin Gator Socket thingy? So here it is. Let's try and see if what a Gator Socket does and whether it minces it when you start swinging on it. Welcome back. Okay, it all started with this. Now this, as you've probably seen before many times, is a Gator Socket. And many of you have seen them, you know about them. They're a very well respected tool. As you can see, they give these little spring-loaded pins, which means you can fit just about any fastener directly in there and it will grip it one way or another. From about 12mm right out to 19mm, I think it's 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch, so it's quite universal. Now obviously right out at 3/4 inch, you're pushing all of the pins in and you're just leaning on the socket itself. So those big heavy bolts, those big 3/4 inch 19mm bolts, they're going to be fine using this because you're actually just using the 6 flats of the socket itself. You're not leaning on the pins. It's the smaller fasteners, the little 10mm things with an M6 shaft, putting that in. Come in close, man. As you can see, putting one of those in there, it goes in amongst the pins. And the question that so many of you asked is, would that mince the pins if you really leant on it? Well, we don't know, so let's see. Now obviously, simply by design, a thin bolt like that isn't going to give much resistance to a big socket with a ratchet on it, so it shouldn't really mince them, but we don't know. So I'm going to start with this. That's a little M6 with a 10mm head, and that uses all the pins. What we're trying to see here is whether when you swing on this like a monkey, whether you end up mincing all these pins and chewing them up and how fragile they might be. So I thought about the best way to test it, and really the easiest way is, rather than trying to break things as I've done in the previous tests, I think we just use a torque wrench to see how much you can put on it before this gets a little bit sticky. I don't want to kill this. This is my one, this is the one I use on my bike. So what I've done for this test, for the purpose of this demonstration, review, call it what you like, I've got one of these from the guys at RECON Electrical. I've just got another one. It's a Wiha branded packaging, as you can see, but again, if you open it up, inside is the good old venerable Gator Socket, one of those. So I've got one from the guys at RECON. They were very, very kind in just sending me this to say, yep, I get what you're saying. I told them about what I considered and thought. I asked the question to them at RECON. I said, are these really strong? Could you really swing on that? They said, I don't know. So they sent me one to see. So thank you to the guys at RECON. I really appreciate that. They have effectively supplied this so we can use it. So let's see what we can do with it. I'm going to get the torque wrench and I'm going to wind it up to about 30 Newton meters, which is nice and conservative. I'm going to put some flats in this so I can hold it in the vise, just so it will sit there. There we go. Flatten out the bolt a little bit, it's just a scrap bolt. Pop that in the vise, really lean on it. So that isn't going anywhere, that's just a 10mm head. So the test here, let's use the donor one. We're going to put that on the torque wrench. Doesn't matter which way we do it, undoing or doing up, it makes no odds. And we're going to start at 30 Newton meters. So come in close, man, let's see how this works. You see how these little things work? You've got these little spring-loaded pins. And basically, you just push that, drop it over the head until it grips. And then we'll start coming open. So that's gripped it. There's a little bit of flex there. Now that just spun straight round, literally. Pulling on it, pulling on it. Right, there we are. I've got the torque wrench there to collect. So what happened the first time there was the actual pins let go. So had it on there, it just snapped over the top. So they aren't as reliable as you might think. That's interesting, I didn't expect that at all, but it did grip. And they're all still nice and healthy at 30 Newton meters. So let's wind it up to 40. Bang on a bit more. 10 extra, 40 Newton meters. Pop it back on top. Lean on it again. I don't like it, does it?
No.
it's just popping off now. Now, I don't know if we've done any damage to it, but it's not gripping that 10mm anymore, is it? Nope, not at all. I can't feel any damage to the pins, but they're not getting hold of that now. I'm not even putting any resistance on it. Oh, here we go, we got it. Got it to lock. It's twisting and it's popped around. So at this stage I'm not going to do that again, because I think we can clearly see that these pins, it isn't that they mince and it isn't that they get jammed up and twisted. So far on a 10mm, they're just, because they're not very secure, they're just popping around. So I think we can confirm that you're never going to break that bolt off. You're never going to bust it or twist it off, because it just doesn't grip enough. And I want to test some bigger bolts with this and see if we really can lean on these before I go busting it on a little 10mm. So let's put a bigger bolt in there. Now this is a 14mm. This is a far more likely size you're going to put that on. And I think this is going to work, because I just felt that this just feels lovely still. All the pins in there are still really nice and there's no damage to anything yet. So we're going to start again at 40 Nm, straight on it. Pop that over the top. Get it down over there. There we are on top. See if it will click at 40. Yep, there we go. It's time to jam on it. There we are. Get it up to 50. See if that does it any harm. Bolt's turning in the vise now, so that's a good sign. There we are, that's 50. Just jammed on there now. Okay, here's the first sign of wear. If you look in there, they're all still moving, but one of the little pins has disappeared. That one. It's dropped down inside. You see that? I wonder if that'll come out. No. So one of the little pins has jammed down and stayed there. Keep going, 60. Right, back over the top. There we are, 60 Nm. Yep. They're all damaged, get it up to 70. Now 70 Nm is just about every fastener under 19mm that you're likely to come across. If you start going up into the hundreds, you're looking at big fat fasteners, and this wouldn't fit anyway. So this is probably about the limit of what you could do with one of these, or would ever want to do with one. 70 Nm. Pop, just slipped over. It's moving, but it's not going to click. It is. That's it, fine. Well, apart from one of the pins disappearing, sort of fell back in, it all seems to be in good order. Nice and smooth, nice smooth action, no rubbing, no stiffness, all going in and out. So let's get it up to 80. In the end we'll get the breaker bar on it, see what happens. There we go. It's this business of just popping around until it kind of finds a lock. He's spinning the bolt in the vise now. There we go. 80. So I think we've gone as far as I probably need to go with that. There it is, a Gator socket from Endeavour, 80 Nm, and it's still fine. One of the little pins has dropped away, but nothing else really. So it just remains, as with all the other tests, just one more to see if we can use this to chew the head clean off, because if we don't do that test, we haven't done it properly, have we, Pen?
No.
Let's get a big bar. Let's take that all off. Now you leave your torque wrench, always undo it. Take all the tension off the spring, except for just the slack at the end. So undo it all the way and come back up to the minimum. So you leave it. Right, here we go. Gator socket. You asked, let's see. Slip. That's got a lock. I think he's doing the bolt. Alright, there it is. Now, I think that is about as healthy as you're going to get. There's one missing, as you can see. One of the little pins has vanished, dropped down inside. But other than that, none of them are minced, none of them are twisted or jammed against each other or bent or jammed up in position. They all move in and out freely and still do their job. So clearly it's not absolutely indestructible, but that's about as good as you need it to be. Because let's face it, as I said at the beginning, a little tiny 10mm head that goes in there, that's going to be a thin bolt. So it's not going to be done up too tight and it's going to snap off probably before it does any damage to that. Secondly, if you're going to use a bigger thing like that, which was a 14mm head, that's sheared off an M8 bolt. Now I was going to go to M10, but the problem is an M10 or a 10mm shaft, I tried to snap that. The problem is that's got a 19mm head on it, which means you're using the socket itself and not the pins. And what I'm doing here today is testing the pins. So that 14mm in there, if you saw close, it still gives us plenty of the pins in use, springing against it. So that works, and I'm happy to claim the win on that. That's really cool. I thought it would break. I thought they would twist, jam up against each other, get buckled and bent and wouldn't work. And on that, to that end alone, with mine that I use for my Harley, I probably would never have relied on it too much, but now I absolutely will, because I know it works, because I tested it for myself. And there's no real damage to that. That is still a usable socket, and that will go in the toolbox. I really appreciate that. Thank you to the guys at RECON for sending that. I didn't really want to do it to mine because I was sure that was going to break, but as you see, it didn't. No ill effects whatsoever apart from one little pin down inside, and we did proper lean on that till we snapped the bolt clean off. So there we go. Anything else, mate?
Well, that's it. You asked.
You asked and we answered. There's the answer to your question. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Ride safe. We'll see you next time.
Born in 46, raised up in the sticks, somewhere north.